One of the most important things that a musician can learn how to do is learn how to read music, standard notation. Now, a lot of people say that I can never learn how to do that. I'm an adult. I can't learn anything. Kids have an easier time with this. Maybe partially true, but certainly not. A lot of times it's really just a matter of finding the right approach. And my goal with this set of lessons is going to be to make music reading easy and possible and actually functional. One of the most important things that people have to get down is that you don't have to have a fluent level of reading, meaning being able to look at something you've never played and then just blast it out with what I would consider sight reading. That takes a long time to develop, but you certainly can if you do more of it. But what you really need is a functional knowledge of reading music. Not any different than reading tablature. Just enough so that you can look at a note or a set of notes and know where to play it on your instrument, when to play it, and how long to hold it for before you go on to the next thing. So you can again have what I would consider a functional knowledge of music or level of reading without feeling like you have to spend your whole life learning how to do it. So that's what I'm going to address and hopefully solve in this set of videos. So the first thing to really have a grip on is that there are three primary components involved in reading. Now, you have to have a good grasp of all three of them and then be able to integrate them and make it work so that you can play something that is, so that you can read something and play it. Now, two of those things are universal from instrument to instrument, and the third is instrument specific. So I want to just kind of briefly touch on each one, and then we'll break down those. We'll kind of have an introduction to each one of those coming up very soon. So the three most important elements are rhythm. You have to be able to understand the difference between a quarter note and a half note, and then all of the other little variations and variables that come out with that. So it helps to understand, first of all, that music has a pulse, and that's how you learn a song. Now, the pulse may actually change, but it's still there. So it's things happening in a regular time. Now, regular is also can be a flexible term in this case. So rhythm is one thing. The next thing, and this is the next one that is also universal for instruments, is a knowledge of the staff. Being able to look at the 5 lines and spaces that make up the staff and figure out what note this is. There are a lot of different approaches to this. People will say, oh, I have to memorize this series of notes, every good boy does fine, or whatever, and things like that. And there are a couple things that are a couple of really good approaches to this. Unfortunately, there are a lot of approaches to it. And sometimes you just have to find the one that works best for you. So I'm going to present the staff in a way that I hope will be logical and fairly simple and understandable. The approach will be to understand that we just have lines and spaces. It doesn't even matter how many we have, but the typical treble clef staff that we use for guitar music has 5 lines and 4 spaces. And the lines and the spaces just alternate like even an odd numbers would as they go through the alphabet. Of course, our alphabet, we only use 7 letters. Okay, so that's the second component. We've got rhythm, we've got the staff, meaning the notes on the page. Then we have, where the heck are those notes on the guitar? So this is the thing that is different. A flute player, a piano player, a drummer is going to learn which drum is tied to that particular line or space. And so this is the part where you need to know the notes on the guitar as like you would maybe on the piano. Now they're much easier to see on the piano, and so the third thing we'll talk about in this as we get started here will be getting used to the natural notes on the guitar. Know where the white keys on the piano are on the guitar in just first position. It also seems like a daunting task. It's like there are so many lines and spaces, frets and strings, and up and down, and all these different things that can add to the confusion. But we're going to try to break it down, simplify it first in just understanding the natural notes in first position on the guitar. So if you have a little bit of a grip on all three of those things, you're in great shape. If you have no idea what I'm talking about yet, don't worry. You will, as I go through the next 3 segments, breaking down each of those things and giving you some exercises to work on. So I've got 1 page of stuff that goes with this, just called the Guide to Reading Music. And it has a few exercises and pretty much all of the reference material you're going to need. Okay, so that's my overview of what you're about to see, but let's get into each of these components now a little bit more in depth, and you can do this. It'll be fun.